Hi everyone. Welcome to part 4 of this series where I've been going over Felix Zemdeg's beginner's method, right? So in this part, we are going to get the top of your Rubik's Cube so it looks like this, right? So you just finished your first two layers, right? The bottom layer and the middle layer. And now you want to do something called orienting the top layer, right? Which means you want the entire top of the Rubik's Cube to look like this. All right, so if you got super lucky, you may have had what I had before, where you had the entire top layer already oriented, right? Already having those yellow pieces facing the right way. But more likely you have something like this, where you have uh, maybe just the centerpiece, right? Maybe a corner or two are in place, and maybe some of these yellow pieces are off to the side. And so when that's the case, when you don't get lucky, your first part of this last layer, the first part is going to be to get a yellow cross. So just like we did on the bottom with the white cross, you want to get these four edge pieces. So they have yellow stickers facing the same way, facing up when you hold it, right? And once again, it won't matter if the edge pieces are aligned yet with the other sides. You just want a yellow cross on top. And so when you finish your first two layers, the most common cases you'll see, there are four of them, right? And really these are all the cases when you don't already have the yellow cross solved. The first case is when you have it solved, and the other three cases are when you have something like this. So this first one here is where you just have the center piece solved, right? We're just looking at the cross, the yellow cross right now, right? So the first case is where you have just the center piece of the yellow cross already correctly oriented. And when that's the case, you just need to hold your Rubik's Cube in any direction and just do this algorithm. Front, right, up, right prime, up prime, F prime. And so you can hold the Rubik's Cube any way as long as your yellow is on top, and it'll give you a case where you have more of your yellow edges filled in. So another case you might have had is where you solve your first two layers and you have two edge pieces of this yellow corner, of this yellow cross lined up, right? So we have our yellow cross and we have two edges lined up. And when that's the case, you need to do the same algorithm, but first you need to make sure you're holding the cube the right direction. So notice that these three yellow pieces, it looks like a line, right? You want that line to be horizontal when you're holding the cube, right? So you're holding the cube, you want it to be horizontal. You don't want it to be vertical. And when the cube is horizontal, you just perform that same algorithm. So front, right, up, right inverse, up inverse, front inverse, and you should have more of this edge cross pieces filled in, right? So now I actually have the entire yellow cross. So there's one case I haven't talked about yet for getting this yellow cross on top, right? Orienting the edges, as it's called, right? And that's when you have this case here. So you have two edge pieces, and they're making an L shape, right? So it looks like an L, and you want to hold the cube before you do the algorithm. It's going to be the same exact algorithm. Before you do that algorithm, you want to make sure you're holding the cube the right way again. And so you hold the cube so that this L is like a backwards L, and really you want to make sure it's in the top left. So you want it to look like this when you're holding your cube in front of you, right? So it looks like a backwards L in the top left-hand corner, okay? And from there, you just do the same algorithm, front, right, inverse, up, inverse, front, inverse, and you'll have a different case. And so you'll need to keep doing this until you have the entire yellow cross. So when you've done it enough that you have this yellow cross solved, usually it takes, like two or three different times, right? Different cases until you get here. Once you have this, you're done with that first part, right? Which is to get the edges done. And all that's left now is to get these corner pieces so they also have yellow stickers facing the same direction as the rest of this yellow cross. And so the way you do that, there are again four different cases. The first case is where you get lucky and you already have four corners and the cross. They're already this is already entirely yellow, right? If that's the case, you got lucky, right? Like I said, and you are good to move on to the next step. If not, you probably have something like this, right? Where in this case, I have no yellow corners with the yellow sticker facing up, right, when you hold it. And so if that's the case, you need to figure out which way to hold the cube in order to do the next algorithm, right? And so the way you figure that out is you look at these, the top, in front of your cube, and you look at the top three pieces, and you're going to rotate the top of the top layer until you notice you have something like this. So you're going to be looking at the top left corner, and in the top left corner, what you want is exactly what I have here. You want a yellow sticker facing to the left, right? So when that's the case, you want to hold your cube, right? Make sure that in the top left corner of your front of your cube is with a yellow sticker facing to the left, right? Just like I just had. And when that's the case, you perform this algorithm. Right, up, right inverse, up, right, up, right inverse, right? And you'll notice the corners have started moving around, right? So now I have one corner in place. So when you have one corner correctly oriented, you want to do this algorithm, the same algorithm again. But before you do, you have to make sure that it's facing the right way, right? So like I said, this is one corner oriented. It kind of looks like a fish, right? So this is the tail and this is the head up here. You want the head of this fish, or really this block of 4, to be in your bottom left of your cube. So from your angle, it look like this, right? So you're looking at your cube and you have that fish head, those 4 yellow blocks in the bottom left-hand corner. It'll look just like this when you're holding your cube if you're looking from the top, right? And then you just perform that same algorithm, right, up, right inverse, up, right inverse. And you may have the entire side with the yellow pieces facing upwards. Now, the other case I haven't talked about is when you have 2 corners oriented correctly. So we did no corners, we did 1 corner. Now we have 2 corners with yellow facing the right way, right? Now you could have one here and one in the other corner like this, like I have here, or maybe you have 2 corners and one is on one diagonal, the other's on the other kitty corner to it, right? The other side of it, right? So you could have it like that. What's important is that you have 2 corners that are yellow and oriented, right? And when that's the case, no matter where those corners are, like I said, they could be on the same or they could be right on their diagonal, right? When that's the case, you want to, again, look at the front of your Rubik's Cube and keep turning that top layer, or keep looking until you find something where you have a yellow piece in the top left, right? So it just so happens I have one in the top left and right, but you really just want to have one in the top left, and it doesn't matter if there's another one in the top right, right? So when you're holding your cube, you're going to have a yellow sticker facing you in that top left of your front layer. And once you have that, you just do the same algorithm. All right, so this is what it'll look like at the end before you move on to the last step. And it's important to know too, you might have to do that same step over and over again, right? So it might take 3, 4 times to keep doing that, figure out what case it is, and performing the right algorithm until you have this last layer done. And once you've got this, you are completely done with this step 4, which is to orient this last layer. And now as we see, the entire yellow side of this Rubik's Cube, the top side, has all the stickers facing the right direction. So the last step is just to make sure these edges are all matched up with the rest of the cube. All right, hope that's helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.